my original interest in artificial intelligence started in the late 70s. Yes, no one can believe I'm this old. But I did my PhD in AI in 1982 to 1985 and wrote a book on it soon thereafter. And I believe my PhD was not, I think, the first in the United Kingdom, but it was certainly one of the first in the UK. Having graduated, all the funding dried up in AI, and I became a mainstream, boring computer scientist before I discovered archives. Carlotta.
Yes, I am Carlotta Bustelo. I am here because I am the activity lead of the e-Archiving initiative for the outreach part of the organization of this event. And in my real life, I am a consultant, a specialized consultant in records management and digital preservation. And for this, for many years, and for this, I'm very close to all the technologies that we use when we work on this field. But now...
So I think, if you recall, as we ended the morning session, our last two speakers discovered that the speakers before them had used up all the time, and they very politely didn't take questions. So I think we can begin by giving, in the first case, Zoltán, the opportunity to have the audience ask him some questions. So. Questions? No. You have to be asked a question first. No, look, I know many of you rather well, and I know you all to be troublesome on good days. So could you please give our speakers some difficult questions to answer? No, it's all right. Come.
Sorry. We are going to explain. First, we are opening the turn to the questions we didn't have time to do for yourself. But any questions for Zoltán? Okay, so no. Any questions for Chris and Valent? No? I am sure that we are going to have more questions after. So what we are trying to do here is we have an interaction between us. It's not that we are going to ask things, or we are trying just to open the floor for you to make a conversation, discussion, to introduce other topics or what you want. So the first thing is...
Well, we've all heard a lot of experiences with using artificial intelligence in an archiving context. Those have come from our speakers. Is there anyone in the room who'd like to share their other experiences?
Now's the mic finally mine. So thank you for this chance to speak there, to share some information. I think as almost majority of here present archives, we also at the National Archives of the Czech Republic, we are testing AI tools. We are testing Tesseract, we are testing some speech-to-text tools. But it's not easy, as the AI tends to hallucinate at some parts. It's like sailing between, not only between Scylla and Charybdis, but also through those sharp rocks. And it's not difficult to wreck our E-ARKs there. And, I think it's not an issue for anyone who is not prepared to set sail. I think time is still there, and it's long time, and we can take a while to wait if anybody of others can wreck it and learn from them where they wreck, why they wreck. And if you can do it, then your sail might be much shorter and even more fruitful. So sometimes even just if you wreck it, it's also a goal, because sometimes the sail is the goal of your sail. So you learn something, and that's all I can say about it, because don't hurry. We got time. We are archives.
Any others?
Okay, so
Only a comment
comment.
to, hello,
Every time you want
to Martin's speech. So yes, we have time, but when people are dealing with something in the archives and spend time for that, then our boss sometimes asks us, what can we do with that, and how can we make use something about make use of that? So so we have not endless time, I think, to deal with something.
Yes, but you need some money. You need people. You need educated people, and that's not easy. So if you got these sources, then don't wait, don't hesitate at all.
Thank you. Just on this time, maybe it's a good theme to start with. So, yeah, some archives have time, but in the same time, public authorities start to use AI. And regarding transparency, explainability, and impact on archival records, we don't have time there. So on the public record creator bodies, kind of engagement on that side, and start to think about how to preserve AI models, I think it's urgent.
So continue with this conversation. I have a question, probably for our speakers, but if any other want to answer, could be great. Based on the experience we have heard today and your knowledge about the topic, do you think the application of the artificial intelligence in archives can be considered as a disruptive element, or rather it is an aid or improvement in the processes we have already been carried out for some time?
We are pro.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity. So actually, to deal with stuff we couldn't deal in the last 20 years, we have new tools. It's the big question that how to use it, which part of the task we can use and we can rely on it, and which part we can't. So that was our examples. I think it's to focus on not solving all of your problems with AI and for one go, but just to pick something. So for example, if the contextualization capability of language model can help us to reveal records with long-term value, that is not a risk if that model includes plus 10%, then it's coming to the archive and we will preserve that as well, and maybe there is no value, but we still capture lots of records with value. So yeah, just to study, experiment, and find out that where this new kind of intelligence can help knowledge information managers and the archive.
You think that could be a disruptive things that we are doing in a different way or not? This is the impact is so hard, or could be that we have to reimagine our processes.
It depends. So I sometimes think about AI like IT. Like in the 90s, that there are many things in IT. You can build, I don't know, servers, you can do database, you can do word process, you can draw paints, you can control things. So it's just the technology. that where you use and how to use it will be different impact in various aspects. In what I mentioned before, that how public record is being created at the producer bodies, that might be disruptive. That might be question around how much we can trust, and was, you know, this new technology, we are kind of losing integrity or trust in information. That might be a big challenge. In our side, what we are looking into appraiser, that might be a game changer, that we couldn't solve this problem in the last 20 years, and we might be able to solve it.
You was the first.
Oh, was I? Oh, sorry. I think it's potentially more empowering, the age of AI, to archivists and records management than this past 25 years, which was the digital age without AI. Because if you look at the records management space, before AI, the only levers we could have for improving the way that records were organised and managed was asking end users to act on their content. And that was disempowering to records managers because they had no way of ensuring that end users did act in the way that they wanted them to act. And so the era of AI means that there's still going to be a role for end users, but archivists and records management are empowered to use their own understanding of records management, and the data science intuitions, which you can see from this conference, archivists and records managers are accumulating to actually be able to act on content, to be able to make decisions on what content is important to keep and not to keep. And yeah, so I think broadly speaking it's empowering. We should embrace it.
Thank you. Regarding your question, we in Romania look at AI like a new employee. So this new employee, we don't have a job description for it. Yes, we know that it's very capable, and we try to have the proper job description for it, and also we try to share tasks between human and this AI. If you have this approach also in archives, I think everything gets more touchable, and it works. And also, I have a suggestion for all the national archives to search in their market companies that already implemented AI in private companies. Because, for sure, it's not the same use case, but they already run some models from 2020 till now. They run a lot of models, and they have the focus to make those models to be competitive, to earn money, not to spend so much money. So if you ask them how they were doing this, maybe you can have some insights, you know, in your archive projects.
Thank you. It's a great idea, but as you know, I presume you know, majority of such contracts contracted by National Archives must be under procurement. So it depends on the procurement whether they want to join it or not. We would like that such companies join these procurements, but it is not like that.
I can understand also this, but in Romania we found some companies that were interested in give their models to be tested by National Archives for free, actually. I don't know, maybe it's working also in your country. Regarding your money capabilities, I don't know. Also in Romania we have a problem with this, but some companies have marketing budget, and they are interested to invest those money in testing, in providing this solution to the public authorities on-prem. Actually, I was involved in connecting these two parties, and there are some companies that are doing this. Good luck.
I would like to share your business card with you. My business card with you. I'm open to it. But in fact, we cooperate for it. We usually cooperate with some university. For example, I got a team from Czech Technical University, and we work on something, but it's in the early stage.
Do you know such a company? Are you coming from Slovenia? From Romania. So, do you know such a company, an international company?
Yes.
But it's a secret. So.
Before I get into the next question, I was going to ask, I want to slightly take issue with the response you initially gave. I accept, I was around when IT first started coming in, that this is another technology, and we handled all those technologies. But isn't this a very different sort of technology? Everything else that I'd ever worked with before, they were very algorithmic and linear in nature. You give it the same input, you always get the same output. It's fairly straightforward to see what's happening. If we're using artificial intelligence to help us make decisions in archives, and you give it the same input, it gives you an output. So you give it input, it gives you a suggestion. You give it the same input, and it gives you a different suggestion. Then it takes us back to what you were saying. It's almost like a new employee, and you've got to tease out of them why the decision was made. And for many of us, sorry, I'm making a speech. For many of us, it's very much a black box technology. Yeah. So you don't need to come back if you don't want to, but.
Yeah, I think I agree, totally agree. I think it was more like, that is not one thing.
Yeah.
So, and actually there are AI which is more explainable, more trusted. So it's just, it's a new technology with many area when we can implement it and we can test it. It's just, we usually talk about the AI.
Sure.
But the AI is...
It's ubiquitous, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not. I wonder...
Yes. When I'm looking from the archives, okay, to the, of course, artificial intelligence is another technology, but some technologies had affect the way that archives perform their task. I don't know if you are very young, but I remember when in the archives we didn't have seen a scanner. So the digitization is something that changed completely the task and the processes in the archives. One is this, but the other one is the website. It's completely different how the archives or how the users of the archives access to the information before the World Wide Web or after. So in this sense, I don't think, I don't have the crystal ball, but I don't know if artificial intelligence is one of these that is going to change the way that the archives perform their task or not. I tend to think that not, it's more like a new employee, but...
One remark to Carlotta's. Not only artificial intelligence will perform how archive perform his tasks, but already the introducing IT technologies have already performed how archives perform their task. Now we are developing a new system, new on internet available publishing AI system, and we provide our documents to researcher via internet, And we try this whole process, implement this new software, and we compare the business process that we are using now with the abilities of the new of a software. Then usually we have to modify modify how we perform our task.
I'm going to disagree with you, Carlotta. I think that artificial intelligence is going to be massively disruptive. It's going to be massively disruptive socially. It's going to change the kinds of thing that we're expected to archive. It's going to involve a huge amount of different sorts of tasks for archivists. I'm absolutely certain we can manage it, and we will manage it. We've got a little bit of lead time. God, it's getting very echoey. It's got a little bit of lead time, but taking a pause, I'm hugely in awe of what the people in this room do and have done over the last 30 years, where the world has changed out of all recognition, from largely paper-based systems to now digital-born systems. And now we're faced with AI before we've even settled down to that. And you've handled everything. So, as I say, I'm sure we'll handle this, but disruptive? Yes, I think so. I think we have no idea how disruptive it's going to be. One of the things I wanted to ask, somewhat change in tack. Sorry, yes?
I want to add a little bit to what you said. I think this new world will be for those archivists who will be like managers. They will have to have the mindset to delegate their tasks, their usual tasks, to technology in order to increase their power. No. Technology is limited. The technology will make only what you will tell to make. The way of thinking belongs to the archivists and to the other team members. I think this new, I don't know, this new domain, it will be a team between archivists, record managers, IT managers, data scientists, and whatever it will be. I was talking already with our colleague from Netherlands. Mm-hmm. You told me that it's already implemented this kind of team. So it's only about mindsets, and it's going to be with a lot of fear loss. Yeah. And if you let your fears go, you will reach the world, because the knowledge belongs to the archivists. Yeah. But what the community needs now is rapidly access to documents. We don't have we don't have a lot of time to think. We have to act. Actually, because everybody needs information and rapidly access to information.
Okay, one last comment. Sorry, Sultan, did you want to say something? No. One last comment in response to you. I like your idea that archivists become like managers, but I would comment that the very best managers have done the job from the ground up and understand the functions very well. So even though you've got an immensely powerful assistant in your team, this electronic assistant, it doesn't absolve us of the responsibility to get to learn how that assistant works, what's driving it. So I think we're entirely in agreement there. Just, we're going on left hand. Just changing tack ever so slightly, well, quite a lot. We've heard a lot today about large language models, and we've seen how they're trained normally using modern languages. But archives hold very old material, often written in older variants of languages. Do you think this has much impact on how we use our AI? We were happier discussing AI as an assistant.
I think the problem is that almost all people who who are dealing with large language models are left.
I've gone. Okay, well, they're very sensible.
So we have we have to change the topic. We have heard today about black boxes, and the idea is, of course, using IA components offered by different commercial companies. We know who they are in the market is an option for the archives, but what the archives have to take into account when deciding about the use of one of these components that seems to be a black box.
Can I have a rant?
No.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, is there? I just think, you think about, right, let's take something simple. Keep Solutions have open source, an open source system. You think, open source, oh, that's nice. There's a nice group of people somewhere, they're kind of maybe nerdy, and they're working together on something. And then you think of perhaps Llama, and these are new terms to me, and Meta, and Google Lens, and I know that it's very different. There is a very large company behind it, and the material goes into a black box, but you can't get anything out of it. So you don't know what they've got on you as a person, and if you ask about it, you can't find out about it. This matters to me because this was used, and I will be very brief, this was used by Cambridge Analytica and Facebook and Meta, and it clinched Brexit, which has caused untold suffering for me. We lost our jobs. We lost everything. That was great. That was terrible. And it will keep happening. So when you give everything and you use one of these things, and for me, Martin, when Martin said, if you use that tool, it's going straight to China. I have nothing against China, but I'm just saying, you use this nice open source tool, and you're giving everything away. Now, do you really want to do that in the archives? I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but I'm saying we need to think there's no such thing as a free lunch. And I've moved away from Gmail. I'm still on WhatsApp. I need to move away from it. I use DuckDuckGo now so that I'm not giving everything. I see every day, 30,000 tracking attempts have been blocked. That's good. But does everybody know that? Do we all as archives, do we really want to give our crown jewels away to who, to what, for what? A rant.
Like I said earlier, there are solutions to deploy the whole technology on your private servers in order to test them there. I also don't agree with those public models in archives, because there is this issue you're talking about, and in my opinion, the biggest treasure that we have in a country is information. Even it's older or newer or whatever, information is the new gold, the new petrol, the new whatever we want. But you can ask for a solution that runs only on your servers under full supervision of your IT teams and everything. And I think my colleagues from IT teams can give you more details about this, because as I asked earlier, you cannot find anything about models. You don't have a questionnaire. You cannot, like end user, you cannot see what's behind, where are your data going to be used, which are the security policies. It's a enormous amount of information that you have to learn. So it's better under your supervision. Like you are holding your documents under your nose. Now you hold your technology under your nose. Thank you.
Anything else?
Again, here's mine. Janet, I agree with you, but usually Czech data producers are not aware of this. And that's my, I think, week routine that once or 2 times per week, I usually consult with our producers how to get the data out of their obsolete system. And they are not aware of it, and they don't want to pay money for getting the data out. So it's a week routine for me.
I think every form of AI has a trade-off. So when you've got supervised learning, you've got training sets, you might know what the training set was, and you've got that extra capability. When you move to large language models, yes, in theory, there's still a training set, but it's so big, you don't know the link between the training set and the outputs of the model is just might as well not be there. So it is, even if it was an open source LLM, it's still going to be a black box. But in many circumstances, that trade-off, where the trade-off is between, in that case, explainability and effectiveness, and you're getting more effectiveness, in other words, it can be used for a much wider range of purposes than can something trained with supervised learning, where it's trained for a specific purpose with a specific training set. Yeah, for the supervised learning, you get very good explainability, but it can only be used for one thing, right? Whereas the large language model, it can be used for almost anything involving language, but you haven't got the explainability of its processes. Now, so how do we think about that as archivists? Well, explainability has always been important for archivists, right? You've always wanted to explain your appraisal decisions. As records managers, we've always wanted to be able to explain our retention and disposition decisions. So explainability is all there. Explainability wasn't born with, I don't know, David's AI thesis and AI, right? So we still have to have explainability. The fact that there's a black box just means we have to explain what was the black box doing. We don't have to explain how it did it. We just have to explain what was the influence of the black box on our input and on our decision making. And that's whether the decision making is us making disposition decisions or end users in our organisations making decisions on, policy matters or resource allocations or citizens or whatever. So I don't think it's in and of itself a problem.
I would have a remark to that. I think we are talking, probably we are talking a little bit on a little bit different things, because Martin talked about that the producer has not support to his or her data asset or system what he is running. I think this is not so. This is not this can be problem for the archive if the archive is very interested to get the data from this producer. But there is another point, I think, as well, when what Janet talked about, that so there is no free lunch, and running a system on our own server or computers is not enough. And having a black box having a black box which runs in our system can also be a good solution if we have enough documentation, knowledge, and support to this system. I think the most important thing are that we have to have support to the software, to the module that we are using, and we have to have also good documentation to everything what we use. So this is my adding.
Any more on this? Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if Tamás is here, but Tamás Váradi had a really interesting presentation exactly about this, that, you know, should we build our own models? And but in that case, he was doing fine-tuning, so it was starting with Llama, so it's not from scratch. But there is also a lot of discussion around in government, and I guess across EU, I think Sven mentioned as well, on AI sovereignty. So would the government, or would as the technology getting more accessible, and maybe we need less data, less computing process, more efficient way to build language models, will we end that maybe the archive can build its own language model, or can a government build their own language model? So, I mean, things are moving really quickly. So probably in 5 years later, we would just build our own stuff, and then we have the, you know, the transparency and the explainability. Well, regarding that, what data we used, we still will not be able to explain if you are doing neuron engines, you know, that how, because it's, I guess it's designed like a brain. You cannot explain how you make a thought, but you can maybe, when there's a question, you can explain that how you did it. So if you have an output of an AI model, then you would be able to kind of trace back that how was the decision making, rather than explaining the entire. I'm not an expert, but it's just, you know, some kind of evaluation or questioning that how was the decision making, or what the reasoning, what everybody is talking that is missing. So the language model cannot explain that how was decision made. But it might be a workaround that you put a prompt, which is translated to a code, a database request, and then you can explain. I mean, it's a really fast-moving and really interesting research area.
I think that's a really important point you make. When I think of where AI was when I started taking an interest in it, and 30-odd years, that's nothing for archivists. I mean, you get papers 20 years behind. 30-odd years has made a huge difference to what's possible and what we can think about in AI. I'm not so convinced about the explanations, though. What you suggest is a good workaround, and that's exactly the sort of thing we should do. But I'm not sure that you can rely on an AI system to give you an accurate explanation of how it came to decisions, any more than you can rely on people. They may be giving you the answer they believe to be true, but very often we don't know what motivates us. I suspect the same thing will happen with AI systems without any sinister overtones. It just won't be reliable. That's my guess. Any more on the rant the janitor started? She's got me a nervous wreck up here. Archivists are kind of the Premier League of the Premier League in preserving paper-based material. We've done tremendously well in dealing with digital-based material and digital-born material. For those of you, I'm not a professional archivist, as you know, so for those of you who are, do you think that the use of artificial intelligence components will change the way we're actually storing and preserving our information? We've discussed other sorts of changes, but that sort of how we store, how we preserve, is not going to be changed by the nature of this software. I shouldn't ask questions.
Yes, of course, David. Of course.
Yeah.
It's sure.
Yeah.
It's sure. It's changing. Even just the transformation from analog to the digital changed everything, because the full case files, as we were used to from the 19th century, they are now split into small pieces that must be connected together to make the whole sense of the issue. So it's the same with AI.
Not only AI, but digitalization change all of this. Actually, in Romania, I think we have a problem. I feel it. It's not yet blowing, but at national state. But we began to scan the documents. We actually, some institution to scan the documents, and those documents arrived in software. And the software now it's closed. You can export those data. What can we do now? We don't have a regulation in order to collect all the data and send them to the archive. I think this is the main important issue now regarding technology. How do we collect the digital-born documents when there is no legislation? In some countries, there is no legislation in order to transfer this born document, digital born document to the archives. And what are we doing with the others, dematerialized before? And those documents that arrived in a closed system. I think this is a big issue.
This takes me back, I'm sure you too, Janet, to the first project we did. I'll pass the thing over. To the first project we actually did, a thing called KEEP, which was Keeping Emulation Environments Portable, where we, among other things, addressed exactly that sort of issue. And I'm going to suggest something too. It's not practical advice, because nobody in this room has the agency to do anything about it. But one of the things we noted was it's really important to keep the hardware preserved and really well documented, as well as the software, particularly anything that's PC-based, because that stuff's the Wild West. It's very, very hard. You need to know exactly the version of the operating system, the hardware, which version of software you've got, all the add-ins, all the cookies. You need to know all this stuff, or it's very, very hard to extract it later. Sorry, someone else wanted the microphone.
Yes, than me. What does what does closed software mean in your case? Does it mean that that it is not used anymore, the software, and the data is not migrated into another software? Does it mean this, or?
Sometimes is used, sometimes don't. Sometimes the authorities paid for using it, sometimes no. It depends on the contract they sign with the service provider.
So before I take over the microphone too, so I have some remarks that I think there are technical solutions for such problems, but these all have to be regulated. So we can, without regulation we cannot do anything. But if a software is closed and the database, every production system works with a database. Then, if the data will be not migrated into another production system, which is supported, then archivists or somebody has to transfer the data into a livable format.
But this will cost.
Yes, this.
A lot of data will be lost because maybe some of them will not be prepared to assume that
if we are talking about a relational database, then a relational database can be exported into, for example, into a CART format, and this is not really complicated. I think people could learn this, and if we.
Commercial contracts, and it's not so easy really. Without somebody that obliged you to give those information, it's not so easy to do. What are you saying?
So I only want to say that there are technical solutions for such problems, but
those data are stuck somewhere in a commercial contract somewhere. Somebody has to take them. Who will take them? Who will pay to take the?
Yeah, it's the management. It's not the tax. It's not the technology.
So this is a slight tangent from what we've been saying. David, I'm not an archivist either, and I've only been in the sector for about 9 months. I still kind of struggle to get to grips with our catalogue and to get any records out and get a sense of it. And so Balint and I have been talking about how to get more value out of our records. And part of that is making it more discoverable. I few people have been mentioning over the last few days this concept of RAG, retrieval augmented generation. In order to do that retrieval augmented generation, you need something that is set up in a format to retrieve. And there are some really basic things you can do to make that retrievable. So one of them is put it through a sentence transformer and turn it into a bunch of numbers, which you can then search, and you can sort of grab back the documents that are closest to the things that you're looking at. There are other things, there's more complicated things. You can do named entity recognition and find out what things are mentioned and what the relationships between them are in each document. Each different type of transformation that you do on these documents has a different level of cost and a different level of value to it. But I can absolutely see that if we want to make the records that we hold as valuable as possible, especially those that are born digital and coming into us now, I can see the value very much in transforming them into some kind of format that is going to make that kind of retrieval easier to do.
Let me make some marketing. In the e-archiving initiative, what we are trying to do is just to provide some tools, yes, to do this, because you are putting in on the table something that is the real problem, and it's nothing to do with artificial intelligence. It is related with decision taking very far away. So, but it's our real problems in the archives. That is something that you have to deal every day with this. And then we have some knowledge from more than 20 years ago coming from the OIS model and saying if you need to package the information, that is to make it in a format that could be understandable in the future. And this is what we are trying to do with the specifications for the information packages, doing some software components to help the people to make these formats and to try to standardize, because if we use the same specifications to make the packages, it's been easier for all of us, because being a standard, it's easier to have more these applying technologies just to extract the data. So that is, I close the marketing part. So, but yes, I think that, yeah, for closing, I want to ask to the audience tricky question after this whole day, related to the impact to the archives, because as you can see, we skip artificial intelligence and go to real problems of systems that are obsolete and how to recover information. So, in relation to the impact on archives of artificial intelligence, how many of you, and I am asking you to hand up, how many of you think that there are too much talk about artificial intelligence in archives and that it will be a trend that will pass? What do you? Yes? No one? No one? Yes, they have gone, they left. So how many of you think that we don't talk enough, that we need more events like today, and that we have only seen the tip of the iceberg? Okay. Why do you say?
Because it's two questions.
It's two questions. Okay, so please elaborate your answer.
Thanks. No, I think we talk enough, but we have to continue to talk. That was the only thing. And then the second part was, sorry, the question. Tip of the iceberg. Yeah, thanks. Yes. Yes, it's because just since we started this exploration, there were new techniques introduced that completely shift our so you continuously need to explore. You don't set up a project to try this now for 3 months. You set up a lab that from now you keep trying.
So we need to organize more events like this, Sultan.
And not only, so don't think that we not only have to talk more and more about artificial intelligence, but more people should be involved in this talk. There are a lot of other topics in which I think also less people are involved from the archive than it should be. So, for example, I think handling digital content, more digital content in the archives, maybe it's also a problem in most archives. And many people think that a new technology will solve a lot of problems and their work will be easier. But the reality is a little bit different. So when we introduce a new technology, then the implementation of the new technology, even the requirements for new projects needs a lot of efforts, a lot of sources. So this, I think, not only we shouldn't only talk more, but more people should be involved.
And I just absolutely agree with that. I finished my PhD off at the University of Sussex at their cognitive science unit. And at that time, that appealed to me so much because my initial training was as a philosopher. So they had philosophers in there, they had computer scientists in there, and they had psychologists at that time. We were looking at AI in a sort of slightly different way. It's a multidisciplinary thing. Getting a proper handle on AI and what it can do for you, what its implications are, not just for the work that you're doing, but on the staff who work with it, is multidisciplinary. So yes, the biggest tent discussion possible, please. Is it me?
Yes,
yeah. So, guys, go on, Janet.
1994, I joined the group of history and computing, and there was one for history and language. I was the only computer scientist. They were all historians or language folk. And there was a lot, so that was 30 years ago. There was a lot of work done there on nominal record linkage, things that I didn't know about when I joined with my background. And I do wonder if people today are aware of the wealth of techniques and tools that were developed then, because the historians that were working with those then are now at the top of institutions. So Matthew Woolard, who I worked with, is the head of the UK Data Archive. Peter Dawn is the head of the something or other in the Netherlands. These were all people. Manfred Thaler, yes, he's retired, bless him. But they were absolutely, the historians that I worked with were just wonderful. They were the best computer scientists
I was just going to say the same thing.
The best computer scientists I've ever worked with. And then kind of in like 2014, computer scientists started to get interested in history. And they were useless. They had no idea of kind of nuance or... Whereas the historians, they had the computing... sorry, I'm off again. But there's so much work, and there's also all the work done in computer science on things like expert systems and data mining. Are people, are people going back? Because there was very good technique. There were very good techniques then. Yes. And let's not reinvent the wheel.
I would absolutely echo your point about the work done in computing by those historians. It is some of the best work I have ever seen. It was years, in some cases, more than a decade ahead of what I saw produced afterwards. I think we're at roughly the point where we're going to close up, but maybe just as a final thing, there's only 3 speakers left in the room, but could I get you 3, or any of you, to share with us what you felt the highlights of today's meeting were? You're allowed to mention me. I really am not going to ask any more questions, guys.
No.
You asked the same question.
The same one. Again, what would you highlight? So, one thing to highlight. Sultan, you first. You are the organizer.
It's hard to start. to talk about, but I don't know what should I. So I think we should improve our collaboration. So the DLM Forum provides a very good infrastructure to share information. But I think that the archives are not a big business, I think, all over the world. We need quite a lot of knowledge from several domains, and we also need tools. And we should, I think, a little bit more concentrate the requirements of tools we use, and concentrate our efforts and sources to develop tools that we will use. So the main thing, I think, it would be share our experiences, our knowledge more effectively, and try to develop a tool that we all can use in our work. So
that's given them lots of time to think.
Sure, yeah. Give you more time, yeah. I think I probably echo a lot of what Zoltan has just said, because he just stole my idea. But I think that there is that thing of, like, it's been a great few days. There's been problems and solutions that have come up again and again in multiple presentations. I think, over the last 4 days, I've heard 4 different people talk about RAG, about 5 different people talk about OCR. And it's great to hear, lots of people around are doing lots of different things and lots of the same things. And it would be great to bring all that together and not have to rely on all being in the same city at the same time, and see if there's any way of collaborating before the next event.
Can I just respond to what you've said?
Yeah.
So, your boss, John Sheridan, he supposedly, I take that supposedly back, I hope this isn't being recorded. He's leading a group within the DLM Forum to look at AI and archives. This would be a good opportunity for everyone in this room to join in, contact John Sheridan and say, we're interested in taking part and sharing our experiences. You don't have to come with a huge amount of knowledge about it. The first thing is to get in the room, be part of the discussion. And a general prompt for, if you're not already in the DLM Forum, please join. It's very inexpensive and useful. Valant, you're not escaping.
Yeah, but not much left to say. But yeah, it was a great discussion, both DLM and this one. Looking forward to the next one and between. I think Zoltan said something. Zoltan said to check the DLM that it's not about the tech. It's around the management, and Zoltan, you talk about issues of the implementation. So I think the good thing is that archives and record management has the highest standards, what's exactly required in this dealing with this uncertain technology. So we just have to find out, because one thing is sure, that it will be useful in some part of each of our workflows. But how to apply in a responsible way, in an explainable as much as possible way, how to influence, if we can influence technology or open source, language models, how to make it more ethical and sustainable. I think there are so many questions and so many opportunities. We need to continue the discussion.
And one of the absolutely great things about this community, and I've worked with other communities, is the extent to which we really are a community. We really do collaborate, we really do share, we help each other. DLM Forum's one way in which we do that, but there are many other connections and networks around the place, and that's something we should all be proud of, and we should leverage as we're facing this whole set of new challenges. Carlotta, would you like to say a few closing remarks?
Okay. So,
Istvan is going to say a few closing remarks. Where's Istvan? There it is.
would have been in a very inconvenient situation. Nobody's interested in closing remarks. Everybody wants to go home. I have to be clever. I have to be funny, polite. Well, no. But we don't have to do it anymore. We live in the age of AI. So please welcome closing remarks by ChatGPT. You'll be surprised. I haven't altered anything. Pure ChatGPT. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this insightful day, I want to take a moment to reflect on what we've experienced together. We began with a robust exploration of the theoretical frameworks that underpin artificial intelligence and its relevance to digital archiving. Our distinguished speakers have illuminated the possibilities that arise when theory meets practice. We've heard real-world applications that showcase how AI can enhance our efforts in digital archiving, from improved data organization to predictive analysis and beyond. The discussion we've had today are not just theoretical, they are calls to action. As we move forward, let us embrace the challenges and opportunities presented by AI in our archival practices. Let us take these insights back to our institutions, collaborate with one another, and innovate in our approaches to ensuring our digital heritage is preserved and accessible. I encourage each of you to continue these conversations in the weeks and months ahead, share your successes and lessons learned, and consider how we can collectively advance the field of digital archiving through the strategic application of AI. Thank you all for your participation, your enthusiasm, and your commitment to harnessing these technologies for practical implementation. Safe travels home, and I look forward to seeing the advancements we will make together in these exciting fields.